Hey everybody, and welcome to News of the Day. So we got a lot of news on the board for you. I know my pen was kind of dying, and it's hard to read, but hey, I'll read it for you guys, and you'll know what's up there. Okay, let's get right into it because there's a lot here today. So the Habs practice facility opened up yesterday. I'm filming this on Tuesday on the 16th. It opened up on the Monday 15th. The reason was there's 4 Habs in town, and they requested the practice facility, so it was opened up. Those guys are Paul Byron, Jonathan Drouin, Charles Hudon, and is it Michael McNiven? I wrote their last names. So McNiven is here as well. So those 4. And how it will go is, yes, 2 guys can be added to that. But once they start practicing together, doesn't matter who shows up and how they want to practice, they have to stay with the group that they started with. So it will be, what happened was yesterday they tested these guys to make sure that they don't have the COVID. And today, the Tuesday, they will be allowed to start practicing. So today, it opened yesterday, but they're on the ice today. Next up, Habs acquired Max Domi in a trade for Alex Galchenyuk 2 years ago yesterday. Should have filmed this yesterday. So June 15th is the 2-year anniversary that we got Max Domi. Another one of those good trades by Mark Bergevin. He hasn't done too many bad ones. Trade-wise, he hasn't done anything bad, really. That was one of the good ones, one of the best ones. Next up, interesting, Jesse Puljujarvi, who I've said it on video that maybe the Habs could try to acquire him, and it's been rumored that a bunch of teams are looking to trade for him. But apparently nobody offered enough. That what's his GM name? I can't even remember. I should have written that down. He didn't think it was enough to make the trade, so they didn't. And Puljujarvi went off to Finland to play, asking to be traded. And if not, he's going to Europe, and he played there. Fine. He's apparently had a change of heart, and he is considering coming back to Edmonton and restart his career in the NHL and try to prove himself that he's worthwhile. And this is what I wrote about it, so we don't go off the rails. So he's considering a return to Edmonton. He's a 22-year-old winger. He may have realized he acted on bad advice, is what he's thinking, from his agent. By asking for a trade and then going back to Finland. He could possibly come back on a 1-year, $875,000 qualifying offer. I don't know if that's the money's exactly. That's what I saw, though. And prove himself here. Or he could stay in Finland. He could go to the KHL. I do believe even Finland has a team that's in the KHL. He can play in Sweden or Switzerland. But if he comes back here, he'll probably be on a 3rd line until he can prove himself and work his way up. And he'll be more valuable that way, honestly. He'd be more valuable to make a trade if he comes back to the NHL and he proves that he's a more than a 3rd line winger. So there you go. Next up, Elliotte Friedman. Elliotte Friedman is reporting that the league is strongly encouraging players who need to extend their work visas through the return to play, which means through the end of the playoffs, because the visas expire June 30th. So anybody with a work visa in Europe or anywhere that they are, Russia, wherever they are, they need to come back 10 days before that in order to renew, because normally they don't have to, because usually the season's over, even playoffs, everything's done. They can go back home and work on visas for next year. But because of the extension, the NHL is encouraging them to come back 10 days before, because that will allow them to stay and just renegotiate the extension, and at the same time be able to practice and be in the training camp, and nothing will be delayed. So they're encouraging them to do that by June 21st. So apparently some players are not happy about it because they didn't want to take part in Phase 2 at the team's practice facility, and they didn't really even want to come back to the home cities, but they'll have to do that to get the extensions done. It'll be easier to negotiate the extensions if they're already here. Next up, NHL wants to defer $300 million in bonuses that are due now. And they want to defer these till after the playoffs are finished, if they take place and are finished, or to I guess a specific later date. The NHLPA is saying no right now, and this is probably part of the new CBA negotiations that are going on. maybe. And the league gives the players, well, maybe they negotiate something with this kind of like the players allow this to happen, and the league says, okay, we're going to allow you to be taking part in the Olympics, the next Olympics that come up, which apparently the players want to do, but the league doesn't want them to do. So this could be, the league gives a concession, players give a concession, boom, you got a deal. So this is probably what's going on right now. Next up, the 7 non-playoff teams. These are teams that aren't in the 2014 tournament. Their management would like to get their players somehow on the ice and be able to evaluate them somehow, because it'll be maybe 9 months before they can get them back on the ice from this time that the season was halted to the time that possibly the earliest that we get started up again for next season. So they'd like to get them on the ice, possibly in like mini camps or rookie camps, and maybe they're talking about maybe some kind of a tournament between the 7 teams, like a round robin tournament, just to give their guys some, get out there and play a little hockey and not have to wait 9 months to do that. 9 months is long if you're a hockey player. When do you go 9 months unless you're injured, major injury, that you go 9 months without playing hockey? So I get what they want to do, definitely. And I guess, look, if they can put on a tournament, or they can put on these 24-team playoff, they can allow these guys somehow. The thing is, though, that more than likely the league won't pay for it. The teams would have to pay for it themselves. It does get expensive, but they would like to do it. They're requesting it. Next up, I should probably turn the other way. Larry Brooks is reporting. Eastern Conference teams will be playing possibly in Vegas. That's still to be confirmed, but if insider sources say it's going to be Vegas. So the Eastern Conference teams will be playing basically in whatever Western Conference hub that they've chosen. And unless they choose another hub that's out in West, the Western Conference teams are going to play in the Eastern. But however they do it, the Western Conference hub, the Eastern Conference teams will play there, wherever it is, because they don't want the home team that's there to have any kind of home ice advantage. So that won't happen if they shift them over. The thing is now, here's something new that's out, and I get this from Hot Take Hockey. If you know John or his channel, Hot Take Hockey's got probably the only one or the first one talking about this. He watched the Justin Trudeau press conference. That's our Prime Minister, if you're not Canadian. And he talked about how his government would be okay with the hub city being in Canada, as long as the local government and health officials signed off on it. Now, if you go back 6 days before, Vancouver, BC, the BC health officials, BC government did exactly that. Said that Vancouver is ready, and they've signed off that they're ready to have this happen if the NHL chooses them. So John at Hot Take is got a hot take about this, saying that Justin Trudeau almost confirmed that Vancouver will be the hub. It's possible, but there's still a little time because they're not announcing this right away. It should be by Monday, the 22nd. And maybe now that happened, Ontario government can give their okay. Their health officials sign off in Toronto and say it's okay. And Toronto, which is supposed to be the front runner, is going to get it for 2 reasons. Because it's Toronto, and Toronto gets everything. And the other reason is that it's in the East, and that way you actually have one in the West, one in the East. Otherwise, we're all going to be watching hockey very late at night because games will start at 10 instead of 7. So all us Eastern fans are going to have to watch games that are late, and we're not used to that. So I don't know if that's how they're going to go. I really don't, unless they choose Vancouver and then take an Eastern state in the States, and then you have your East-West split up. But that's what it's going to be. The Eastern Conference are going to play in the Western Conference arena, and the Western Conference is going to play in the Eastern Conference arena. So that's being reported by Larry Brooks. Pierre LeBrun is reporting, and now goes with what I just said, that none of the 10 cities, the hub cities that are being considered, have been told by the NHL that they are no longer in the running. So the NHL, they're playing it close to the vest. They're going to wait till the last second and get the best deal, or see who's opening up, what government's going to give them the okay, so that they have the least problems there. And they can do their bubble from hotel to arena, and then, you know, and keep the players and everything in that kind of a bubble. But they're looking for probably the best deal, I guess you could say, and they're going to announce it. Hopefully, they said by the 22nd, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's been announced, or that's what Pierre LeBrun is saying. Next up, I gotta find where I am because I went ahead. It's about the qualifying round. In the qualifying rounds, games, they're kind of going to do like a retro, go back to the 80s, where the in the 80s, rounds 1 and 2 from 80 to 84, and round 1 all through the 80s, the first 2 games were back-to-back, and then games 3 and 4 were back-to-back with a day in between, and that kind of quickened up the amount of time, the length of the playoffs. So they're going to do this with the qualifying round. They were talking about doing it in the first round, but they're just going to do this in the qualifying round. So that's by, I think it's also Larry Brooks reporting that. So very reminiscent of the 80s. For me, it's normal. It's been changed for a long time, but that's how it was when I was, well, I wasn't a kid. By 1980, I was already an adult. But, yeah, I'm used to that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They played a lot of back-to-back games during the regular season, so why not have a couple back-to-back games early on into the playoffs? It'll help speed it up, and really, time is an issue, and you want to get through that round as quickly as possible. And listen, also as well, it's qualifying round, best of 5. It could be over. A lot of them could be over in 3 games. You never know. So next up is that the 2020-2021 season could start only in December or January for a reason. Not only because of the late finish for the playoffs, but they'd like to try to see if there's a possibility that at some point in the season they can have fans in the stands. So the later that they start, the longer they go, the more likelihood of something making that possible. Either a vaccine or a treatment or whatever makes it possible to have at least some stands. Well, you're going to have stands in the stands, fans in the stands, and that's one of the reasons why they're waiting so long, because obviously if they can have fans in the stands, buying concessions, all that kind of thing, tickets and all that, that's money that's coming in that they need. And that's, so it's money. A lot of this is for money. I mean, they're not in business to not make money. So, but that's what they're talking about. So it's, they're kind of hoping, I guess, that it goes longer so that could happen. Next up, also on that, they're talking about doing a conference format only. So I don't know for how long, but I would imagine that the whole season you play only inside your conference and go through the playoffs, and then the only time the conferences would exchange games would be in the Stanley Cup Final. That's what I would think. So that's talk. I don't know if that's confirmed, but Larry Brooks, no. I don't know if it's Larry Brooks reporting this. Someone is reporting this, and that might happen. Next up, and the last item is just happened. The Buffalo Sabres have fired their GM, Jason Botterill. They've replaced him with Kevin Adams, is the new GM, a first-time GM. He was vice president of something. It's a long title. He's a first-time GM. Jason Botterill was a first-time GM. And the guy before them, who I don't remember who it was also a first-time GM. Maybe they should have gone with someone more experienced. I don't know. But that's what they did. The funny thing about this is just a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, the president of the Sabres, or up higher than the GM, gave him approval, said they're not firing him, they're keeping him, they're on the same page with him, everything is good, nothing to worry about, find another story type of thing. And then Jack Eichel comes out, what is it, about a week and a half ago, with the complaints that, you know, they need to start winning, he's not happy, blah, 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 and then they fired Jason Botterill pretty quickly after that. So one wonders if Jack Eichel's interview and the complaints caused them to get rid of Botterill. They were just on the same page with him a few weeks ago, and now they're not on the same page with him. I don't know how that happens that quickly. So it's kind of funny. Big story. Imagine the details will come out in the near future. And I think that is it. So that's it. Thank you for watching my video. If you like it, give a thumbs up. While you're doing that down there, leave any comments that you may have about any of these stories. What do you think about them? What do you think about my thoughts on them? in the comment section, which is down there. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notifications bell, and that's going to get you your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge right here at Talking Habs. And yeah, that's it. So stay safe out there, please, everybody, with everything that's going on with the virus. Wear a mask when you're going around. There's a lot of people around. Please do that. That's really important. That'll keep you safe. Keep your distance when you can, definitely, and wear a mask. That's really important. And stay safe from all the protests. If you're protesting and all that, just stay safe. You got to get back and watch more Talking Habs videos. So thanks for watching, and peace out. See you next video. There's going to be a few today and tomorrow.